Hey, Paddle Talking World Sand Drag News fans. You can watch every episode on the World Sand Drag News YouTube along with all of our other content, which is badass sand drag racing action. Or you can find us on Spotify by searching for Paddle Talk. Check out our Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well for more content on sand drag racing. Don't forget to check out our website, worldsandragnews.com, for our list of world records, a schedule of events, articles from past races, and much more. Buy our sponsor stuff. Speaking of our sponsors, we're going to give a shout out to SM Engineering. Sam McCray will get you right. Sam McCray design, build, test with SM Engineering. You can hit them up at promodsam@gmail.com, 740-361-0969. Sam offers flowed fuel systems, dyno testing, fuel management, tune-ups, consulting, race pack and data acquisitions, wiring, and mechanical services. So hit up SM Engineering now. Now listen to the email and phone number for you. Hit up Sam McCrary. He'll get you right and probably get another small block into the 260s. I'm kind of rocking this one solo right now. We may have Damian and Isaac join us in a little bit, but right now it is just me. Welcome to another episode of Paddle Talk. On today's show, we have big interviews. We interviewed the guys from Homochitto and the guys that are running the track in Mississippi. Homochitto Dirt Drags, kind of new, kind of brand new. They've been around for a little while, but they brought the track back. It's really cool to see them up and running and the great things they're doing. We also have a big interview with the GOAT of Sand Drags, Jeff Guillot, pilot of Wild Thing, founding PSDA board member, and we have a great conversation with him. He kind of talks about the accident. He talks about his time in the sport. He talks about how Gilbert got started, and it's just great interviews. So really enjoy those. And basically today's show is kind of short. I do have the giveaway winners. I will get to that. And I am going to start the show right now by doing a recap of Dome Valley Raceway's second points race, the Arizona Sand Drag Shootout, just this past weekend. Caleb not able to make it there because Caleb actually got married on Sunday. Congratulations, Caleb and Julia. They're actually in Florida right now enjoying their honeymoon, so good for them. And then as for Dome, a pretty good weekend. Only had 2 top alcohol cars. They had 6 top eliminator cars. Looked like a fun time. Looked like a great time, to be honest. And the house was packed. They still had plenty of bikes. They had bikes, you know. SoCal kicked them out, so they all went to Dome. So it's good to see that. Not saying SoCal should not have the bikes back. They definitely should. But it's nice to see the bikes actually in the West Coast had somewhere else to go. The bracket racing bikes, of course. And then let's just kind of get into these Friday's winners right here. In the 395 index, your first place winner was Eric Brown. And your second place winner was Luis Carrillo. I might have said that wrong. Luis Carrillo is what I'm going to say. If I said it wrong, I'm sorry. 450 index, first place, Dan Huff. Nice. Second place, Luis Carrillo. Again, doubling up with 2 second place there. That's pretty good. Eric Brown actually also raced in top eliminator, so that was cool to see also. Car Gambler in the Car Gambler class, Kenny Hayes taking the win. Just taking home just under $900, it looks like. So shout out to Kenny Hayes getting it done in the Gambler. And then ATV Gambler Friday night, Mike Brock. Are we shocked? I'm really not. Mike Brock getting the win, and he won just under $500. So congratulations to your Friday's winners right there. We'll get into our Saturday's winners from Dome. Sport 1, first place, Eric Brown. Look at that. Eric Brown. He took the win in 2 classes for the weekend with that one. So good for him. Second place, Dan Huff. He's placing on the podium again. Sport 2, first place, Sean Pozniakov. I said that all wrong. I don't know how you say it. Sean Pozniakov. Sean Pozniakov. I'm going to call it that. And it's definitely probably not how you say it, but I'm going to say it like that. Second place, Jared Foshi. It's cool. Cool. Jared getting himself some podium time. Feels like his daughter now. Sport 2 ATV. We didn't have a Sport 1, I guess. Sport 2 ATV, first place, Marcus Rydell. Good for him. Caleb actually gave a shout out to Marcus last episode and thought Marcus would enjoy his time out in Dome, so it was good to see him getting a first place win. Your second place finisher in Sport 2 ATV, Dominic Pena. Shout Dom. Like to see him get the win of, like always. And your car gambler winner for Saturday's car gambler winner, first place, Clayton Teeter. Clayton Teeter, are we long lost cousins there, bud? I mean, I'm just kidding. Anyway, Clayton took home just under $1,000 with his Saturday night gambler win. So, shout Clayton. And your ATV gambler winner, look at that, Dominic Pena, and he's taking home just about $650 with that win. So good for him. Good for him. Like seeing the Penas up on the podium. Makes me feel good. I don't know why. And we're gonna move into Sunday's classes, which this will include top eliminator as well, but I'll get into top eliminator and top alcohol right after I go over these Sunday's winners. Unpopular opinion. I know you guys in the West Coast like racing on Sundays. I don't. I hate racing on Sundays. I don't know how you guys do with it, but I'm glad that you guys stick around for Sundays to get some good track time in, especially these kiddos because they race on Sunday as well. So anyway, Sunday's classes. First place in Pee-wees is Aubrey Pena. Look at that. Aubrey Pena getting a win on the podium. Second place, Aspen Brown. Good for them. Juniors, first place winner, Aubrey Foshi. Look at that. National Junior Dirt Drags, fastest go-kart on the planet right there. Second place, Autumn Carlson. Autumn Carlson. Oh, that must be Chris's girl. Shout out to Chris Carlson getting his daughter on the racetrack for the first time and taking home a second place win. So that's awesome. Pro 1, which is 310 to 375 or something like that. First place winner, Eric Brown. Second place winner, Arnold Cox. This Eric Brown guy is a killer in these bracket races. Pro 2, first place, Eric Brown. That's crazy. So Pro 2 is like 376 to 425 ETs, something like that. 300-foot drag racing. Pro 2, Eric Brown, first place. Second place, Kenny Hayes. Pro 3, your winner is Kenzie Rex, getting a first win in that dragster her and her dad work hard on. So that's cool to see that. Second place, Jeff Collis. Jeff Collis. Pro 1 ATV. First place, Mike Brock. Second place, Chris Carlson. That must have been fun to hear right after that race was done. And they were just shitting on each other left and right. Pro 2 ATV. First place, Marcus Rydell. Attaboy, Marcus. Second place, Alyssa Adkins. Pretty good day right there for Sunday's winners. All right, top alcohol and top eliminator. So before we get too much into that, I kind of want to go over the qualifying order from that race. Okay, final qualifying results from Dome Valley Raceway, top alcohol and top eliminator. I would go through all of them, but this would just be easier to go through the last one. So your top alcohol qualifiers, reminder, there's only 2 of them. Nick Schultzman was your number 1 qualifier, 288 with a 7. Jim Nafziger was your number 2 qualifier with a 300 with a 7. Nick running on that hurt rear end, I think. Jim, I don't know because I wasn't there. My guess with Jim is that he just kind of kept it for top eliminator because he's been doing so good in that class. So, I mean, he just won Elsinore and he can go out there and try to do the same thing. So, top eliminator, they had 6 of them. Your number 6 qualifier was the man who basically dominated Pro 1, Pro 2, and Sport 1 and Sport 2. Eric Brown. Eric Brown ran a 359 with a 7, your number 6 qualifier. Number 5 qualifier was Bill Walling, running a 331 with a 2. I just got to say this about Bill Walling real quick. That's an awesome car you got there, Bill. A Budweiser themed top eliminator dragster, I think is what Sand Drags needed. Kenny Bernstein vibes. I like it. So shout out to Bill for having a cool car. Your 4th qualifier was Mike Brock, 302 with a 9. 302 with a 9. And Mike Brock was running the Purple Unicorn. I don't know if Jamie Regina still owns it or not. My guess is that yes, because him and last I knew, Mike and Jamie were buds. So I assume that Mike was probably running it for Jamie, but then again, I don't know. Number 3 qualifier, the man from Vegas, one of the men from Vegas, Mark Punos. He actually edges out Mike Brock by 0.02 of a second, runs a 302 with a 7. And then Jim Nafziger, the man who's just been on a tear in top eliminator recently. He qualified with a 302 with a 6. So he beat Puños out by 1,000th for that number 2 spot. That's insane. Quick note. If you don't know the qualifying rules for top eliminator, whoever can get closest to 2.95 with a 0 will be your number 1 qualifier. And that's what Terry Crawford basically did. He runs a 2.95 with a 1 to secure that top qualifying spot in that 6-car field. Now, it doesn't matter if there's 6 cars or 60 cars. Running a 295 with a 1 is really impressive in the top eliminator field. I think anybody can speak for that. All right, your first place winner for top alcohol, Nick Schultzman. Your second place winner, Jim Nafziger. For your top eliminator final round, it came down to the 1 and 3 qualifier, Terry Crawford racing against his buddy Mark Puños. Terry and Mark kind of go everywhere together, so it was kind of cool to see them run against each other in the final. Terry Crawford getting the win, runs a 296 on the 295 index. Mark Puños manages like a 305 or something like that, but still places second. So shout out to Terry Crawford, yabba dabba do indeed, and shout out to Nick Schultzman. I know Nick went out there with higher aspirations, probably trying to lower his record, but getting a win and making some passes at the same time probably does good enough. So shout out to those guys. Damian Bowers has finally joined us. I did say at the beginning, either Isaac or Damian, or nobody's going to join me, and Damian's here now. So Damian did not get the right push rods of some sort, so they're not too happy, I don't think.
We're not sure yet. We got to call the company that makes the lifter to figure out what actual lifter we have. So either they're short travels and we've got the perfect one, or they're long travels and then we got to figure out where to buy the right length push rod, which is an oddball length.
Yeah, that sounds like an oddball situation, but you know, a couple oddballs are used to that, aren't they?
Well, when you buy leftover parts, things tend to go wrong.
Well, you got to keep the name. You got to get leftovers some leftovers.
Exactly.
So, I kind of just went through the whole winners list from Dome.
Speaking of, and if anybody listening was at Dome Valley this past weekend, Ronnie Huff crashed.
Oh, I'm glad you said that because I totally forgot to say that. And
so, and someone who's related to him, he's wanting to find video or anything of that because he's curious. He said Ronnie's doing okay. So,
yeah, we actually did, as Damian said, somebody messaged World Sand Drag News asking if somebody did get a video of Ron Huff in his accident at Dome just this past weekend. I'm glad you brought that up because I asked Esteban about that as well. He said that Ron Huff went straight full speed into the rails, and then everything was all good though because the car was still in one piece, and he literally went and got checked up, and he came back to the track and got into another car, and he kept racing.
We know how that goes.
Well, that's
no. Who was it who had the Budweiser King car out there?
That was Bill Walling. I gave a little bit of shout out to him. He was one of the top eliminator guys. I said Kenny Bernstein vibes a little bit.
That is straight up from the 80s, paint job wise.
Yeah, so it's awesome. The main thing that really stuck out to me as you kind of look through it and read it, Damian, was that Eric Brown won a lot of races because he got first in Pro 1. He got first in 395 index.
You're gonna have to remind me on which vehicle that is off the top of my head.
He got first in Sport 1, and then he won Pro 1 and Pro 2 on Sunday. So he won 4 classes that he ran, and he was actually the bottom qualifier and top eliminator as well. So he was the one without he was the one without the supercharger basically.
Okay, the gray dragster with a big hood or big scoop on the top of the carburetor.
Yep, that was him. And
now, how did much more or the KMT drags side by side dragster, whatever we're calling it at this point?
It is a UTV right now. Okay, for anybody that wants to get in their panties in a wad, it is a UTV. So, I didn't. Apparently, they didn't break the record because I didn't hear anything else after that.
Yeah, I seen him run one pass. It was like a mid 330 pass.
Yeah.
Obviously, they didn't get the clutch quite right to stage it on its own.
No, and I think I don't know if that's something they originally planned on, was just going in there and just running test and tune, or if they actually plan on racing or not. But either way, they it looks like they didn't get the goals that they set up for themselves either, though. So
Right. Definitely going to be interesting to see as this year goes on,
for
because we're
sure.
close to the end of the season for the Middle East racers. And so they've got all summer to build the craziest machine they can for whatever rules we come up with for Unlimited at this point.
Yeah. And we will see about that as we get closer to it. I do know whenever that thing goes to Gilbert, it's going to be crazy. Gilbert's going to be crazy already just because everything that happened in Dome for the PSDA race. But either way, that's a different topic for a different day. But
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, I kind of went over the winners list already and stuff like that. So
Right. Definitely looks like it was a good weekend. Good to see Kenny Hayes back out there running some more. He ain't been
yeah,
out too much this year.
yeah. And I kind of said something. I love Kenny Hayes to death. He gave me a ride in his Larry Minor Jeep my first time going to Southern California, and it was awesome. Felt like I was in a rocket.
Crazy how light those cars are.
It was crazy how it just felt like, I mean, kind of like how Dennis was saying, like whenever we took off, it kept pulling. Like it didn't feel like it just like staggered out. It just kept going.
When the car weighs 1,500 pounds.
That was your Dome Valley recap. I am going to kick it over to our interviews with the Homochitto Dirt Drag guys. We actually met with Michael Smith and Kent Allen. So if you know them, a very cool conversation we had with them, how the track started to where it is now and everything they're trying to do. So it's really great. And all the hard work they put into getting that track running. It's awesome. And like he says, as you hear, it definitely takes a village. And then we also have probably the biggest interview we ever done on this show, Jeff Guillot, the GOAT of sand drags. And he'll kind of get into everything that he does, how he started racing, what he started racing on, how the track in Gilbert, which is basically in his backyard, became the juggernaut it is now, how the PSDA kind of got up and started. And then I know what kind of a lot of people are looking forward to is him talking about the accident whenever he unfortunately got in that accident falling with his trike whenever he ran a 260 at his own track. We're going to start off with the Homochitto guys. Homochitto Dirt Drags interview with Mike and Kent is brought to you by Lone Star Graphics, custom photo graphics and design. They offer t-shirts, plaques, prints, mouse pads, custom award plaques, license plates, ceramic coffee mugs, canvas pot holders, canvas bags. They offer koozies, a wall clock with a printed photo. They have key tags, jar openers, canvas throw pillows, and Christmas ornaments as well. So make sure you hit up lonestargraphics.info. Check out that gallery. The gallery goes back all the way to 2006. They have pictures of Jeff Guillot making a record-breaking pass back in 2009. They also have pictures of Scott Whipple's record-breaking pass back in 2009 when Top Fuel was still going strong. So check out lonestargraphics.info. If you got somebody's birthday coming up, get them something from Lone Star Graphics. They will absolutely love it. It lasts a long time. So shout out to lonestargraphics.info. Okay, here's our interview with Homochitto Dirt Drags, Michael Smith and Ken Allen. All right, we are back with two special guests. We are with Michael Smith and Ken Allen from Homochitto Dirt Drags, located in Mississippi. We're going to learn a little bit about their track right now. We are also joined by Mr. Dave Applegate. Appreciate his presence. So let's go ahead and just get right into it. Let's start with Michael. Michael, if you can go ahead and introduce yourself and then pass it to Ken when you're done.
I'm Michael Smith from Brookhaven, Mississippi. We've got the Homochitto Dirt Drags located in McCall Creek, which is about 20 minutes west of us. We enjoy it. We have good times out there. We've had a lot of people show up and have gotten a lot of good feedback from it. Would love to have everybody and appreciate the opportunity to be able to be on this podcast with you guys to answer any questions that you may have and spread the word about our track.
Absolutely. Love to have you. Kent, a little bit about yourself.
I'm Ken Allen. I'm from Brookhaven, Mississippi, and just enjoy doing the track stuff. It started out as kind of a small ordeal just for several people here, and it's kind of growing each year. But we do enjoy it and have a great time doing it.
Awesome. Well, how long have you guys actually been involved with like 300-foot sand/dirt drag racing? Kent, let's start with you.
Myself was my son. I'm new to the game, to be honest. Probably 2 to 3 years at the most. My son's 17 years old, and he got into it 2 or 3 years ago, and I've kind of got into it involved with him from that.
Well, that's still pretty cool. You know,
Yeah.
Kid got you motivated, huh? That's awesome.
That's right, exactly.
All right, Michael, what about you? How long you been in 300-foot sand dirt drags?
I got into it in probably about 99, about 2007. They had a couple local tracks here, and
Okay.
my dad didn't want me racing. He broke his neck on a dirt bike in '87, and I wanted to race motocross, and he wouldn't let me. So a buddy of mine said, "Hey, they have these dirt drags, local. You want to ride with me one night?" I said, "Sure." So we went. I enjoyed it. Next race, I said I had a 300 EX at the time. I had a blaster at the time also. So I ended up slipping away from my dad, and we went down and got into the bracket class, the ET class, and we had a good time. And of course, sport died off, and I went off to college in about '07. So I took a break, and then a few years ago, Kent and some of the guys said, "Hey, they got a local track. You want to ride with us and go check it out." So I loaded up and kind of fell back in love with it, saying that the sport was coming back around locally. So that's what we did, and that's how we got back involved, or how I got back involved.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Dave, you got a question about Homochitto's track itself?
Well, I gotta talk to Kent here for a second. Kent, you said you're new to it 2-3 years. Man, you came in at the right time, buddy, because in the last maybe 4 years, guessing, I could be wrong. There might be others that think it's longer or less. Man, the last 2 or 3 years, at least out west or out east here, man, it's growing. Holy cows, it's growing.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting fast. And Mike, you was talking about how you started into it a little bit with some small rides. Now you moved on up. So my question is, do you guys own the track, run the track? How does that work? Because obviously you guys are a team here, and man, in the last couple of years, I've just seen your guys' name just popping up. I've seen it today, as a matter of fact. So, how does that work, if you don't mind us asking?
A good friend of mine, actually, we went to school together back in the '90s there, and his name's Wesley Guillot. He actually owns the track, and he originally started the track. I don't know exactly, but probably 6-7 years ago, maybe. It may not be that long, but anyway, he started the track, and it was just a little fun thing to come down. People brought trucks and 4-wheelers, did it all, And as it's grown over the few years, got to be more 4-wheelers than anything, basically. And he he works awful lot, and his job actually got him to working more and more and more off. And I texted him one day just out of the blue and said, "Buddy, actually, to be honest, to actually go back, the track flooded a couple of years ago. And that particular year, he was working off. And when I say flooded now, I'm talking the whole track 5 foot underwater. And it just messes everything up. And everybody said, well, that's it. Said Mr. Wesley, he works off. He's not going to fool with it anymore. And the more I thought about it, I got to texting him and talking to him. And I said, would he ever be interested in just leasing the track out? Because all the kids around here, that's what it's for. And he just come out of the blue and said, well, heck yeah. Said, sure would. Said, I'm stay gone all the time. I don't have time to do it. So he said, that would be great. So me and him got to talking, discussing stuff, and work stuff out. And here we are.
Well, then, so you got it started. When did Michael come in?
Well, we actually all did this together. It's myself and Blake Wallace is a friend of ours, and Gary Richardson is another guy. And I actually went to them before we did anything, because we're all friends and everything. I said, hey, would y'all be interested in doing this? Because it's going to take some money, of course, and equipment and time, and because just to see how they reacted, and everybody was in on it. So that's how we got started.
Well, I think it's great to see another good track. I mean, I've never heard anything bad. All the review, everything that I read on Facebook and see has been awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know how you got hooked up with Billy there real quick to throw this out there, but when Billy told me he got a hold of you guys, I'm like, yes, That is great.
Good.
So, yeah, I was excited about it. I was like, yeah, I'm in.
A good deal. The sad thing about the track is it is close to the Homochitto River, and it's, you know, within 75 to 100 yards of the Homochitto River. And from what Wesley told me, he's been there 20 years, and it's flooded. Well, in 20 years, the track's flooded 3 times, and it's been 2 out of the last 3. So, yeah, that's luck.
Well, that's okay. That's all right. We can still go down there with boats, and we'll do drag racing with boats. Who cares? Canoes? I mean, why not? What the heck?
I talked about that, laughing and joking. I mean, our concession is it's actually ground level, and then we built a big mound up, probably 2 to 3 feet, and then we built it up on blocks, another 2 to 3 feet, and it got what, Michael, 5 inches in the wall.
Yeah. It probably got 5 or 6 inches inside of it, and boy, was it an absolute wreck cleaning that up. I know the 2 bathrooms, the men and women's bathrooms on the end of the concession stand, they're probably 5 by 5. I bet I was on my hands and knees for an hour and a half cleaning the mud off of the floor, and it's just I mean, we had a lot of people, thank goodness, that reached out. Hey, if you need any help, you know, just let me know, you know, and especially when it comes to that track, it takes a village, you know, and people, especially our regulars, I cannot thank them enough for reaching out, you know, supporting us, showing up at every race, and just willing to help and do whatever, you know. So the flooding does suck, you know, it is a part of it, but thank goodness we do have people in our corner that will help us, you know, handle anything that, you know, we need help handle.
So
I would say in the dirt sand drag world, it's a family. It is. I mean, truly it is, you know, so that's a good thing.
It is. It is a good thing. And going back to what you said about Homochitto, it's the river. So the track's basically named after the river, right? Homochitto River?
Yep.
Okay. And then you also said something about your guys' track equipment, and I'm looking at this picture from, I believe it was your guys' latest event just this past weekend. And you guys got Gilbert's old stuff, or you guys went and got that after he upgraded? Is that right?
Yeah, we
because that track looks fire. The picture I'm looking at right now, that looks like a very, very fast track. What I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, we started out, you know, trying to search for some other equipment, and we found like a 12-foot do-all last year, but it didn't have plows on it, like the cutters on the front, if you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And it just basically smoothed the track. And we got to looking into it more and more. And actually, Mr. Jeff Guillot, he actually came down to our track, I think it was our last race. He showed up down there, and we was talking, and we become friends. And he said, you know, I'm expanding my equipment like 6 or 7 foot wider. And he said, I've got the one I've always used if y'all be interested in it. So it started from there, and we got fired up about that and said, heck yeah, you know, said, why not? So he made us a deal on it, and we went and got it, and we've started from there.
Well, I mean,
and that equipment's awesome. It really is. It makes
it looks awesome. These pictures look amazing. This track prep looks A1. Like, it almost looks like a different Gilbert.
Hey,
so how much shutdown room do you have?
Yeah,
as of right now, anywhere from 900 to 1,000 feet. We're in the process. I actually talked to the owner yesterday, Wesley. Me and him had a conversation last night about, you know, if this thing keeps going and these fast bikes, you know, keep coming or want to come, I'm planning on adding another 100 to 200 foot to it just for safety's sake.
Do you guys?
So basically, you're adding extra length because of Mike's old. What do you have, a 300 EX or something? That way he can stop. Right. That's why we're putting the extra. Okay. All right.
Exactly. 4 carb flames on the fenders, giving it about 10 more horsepower. I need that extra stopping room.
Yeah, you put a sticker on there of some kind, man. That's like 3 or 4 horsepower. You know what I mean? Every sticker you put on there.
Always is. Are you guys? Would you guys? I don't know if you said this. I might have forgot if you did. Would you guys, or have you guys ran like trucks or cars or rails there before?
We have not. Well, the previous owner did, and we've had a lot of people wanting to do it, and planning on doing it this year, to be honest. We didn't do any last year. We wanted to kind of get our feet wet and get set up and, try to make it. I don't know anything about trucks as far as dirt or anything. I guess it's basically the same.
Just don't use the roller. You'll be fine.
Is that right?
Probably.
I need all the advice I can get. I promise. But we've
been told that the way that the trucks like to run is when one truck sets the groove, the rest of them like to stay in that groove. We don't know. Our main thing is it's not so much the dirt work. It's just somebody showing us exactly how the classes are organized, because most of the time what we do, we have a lot of people that just want to test and tune. So usually first event of the year, we do a test and tune because we understand that a lot of people have these winter builds. They want to try to get the bugs worked out of them. And then we'll kind of roll into our next event, which will probably depend on, how long it takes for us to, we're still working on the new equipment and the dirt and everything. But it's probably going to be within the next month, so maybe 6 weeks, something like that. We'll probably roll into we'll do test and tune for a few hours. Of course, my big thing is an ET class, because anybody can win it. That's kids that want to bring their 90s out there, a 4-wheel drive 4-wheeler, fast bikes. We've had anybody from a side-by-side to a stock 400EX, or we've had fast bikes win these ET classes that we put on. And of course, what I always tell the guys, we have a drivers meeting, and I tell them, I say, we'll do whatever you guys want. If you want to do a no bar class, 4-stroke, 2-stroke, however you guys want to do it, we'll do it, because it's not for us, it's for you guys. If y'all want to do a $50 buy-in, a $100 buy-in, whatever you guys want to put in, that goes to you. We've had classes. We did one class last year, and goodness gracious, it took forever. But I did a first loss buyback. So any round, even if you made it to the last round, if you wanted to buy back in, go again. Everybody agreed to it. That's what they did. And we paid first and second. And I believe that first place took home around $2,800. So it was not a bad purse to be taking home on that.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I'd be happy to take home $2,800 after winning a bracket race. Yeah,
absolutely. Especially enjoying it, and you're getting your passes in, being able to tweak your bike too at the same time.
For sure.
What time do you guys typically open? Let's say that this Saturday you're going to open. What's your guys' time schedule on, like typically a weekend?
Usually, anywhere from 12 to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, we open. And, we usually stay open till 10, and if everything's going good, if we want to stay a little later, we'll stay. Some of us are tired and give out, like me. I'm ready to get home. No.
So do you have lights?
Yes, sir. Sure do.
Nice. Is there a curfew?
No.
That's even better.
Well, where the track is located at is literally in the middle of nowhere. So you don't have many houses around. It's kind of one of those things. That race that I mentioned, I think we had 32 bikes in it. And I think that half of them ended up buying back. I think everybody ended up buying back in, maybe except for 1 or 2. That race in particular, I don't think that we shut down till probably 12 to 1 o'clock in the morning. It literally went on for forever, but everybody enjoyed it, took home a good purse. So there's really no curfew out there.
So you guys had mentioned your bathrooms. How's concessions? Do you have like a truck that comes in? How's that? What do you guys have there? Let me guess. Alligator. You guys got alligator there, right?
Oh, we hadn't had that yet, but the other guy I mentioned, Gary Richardson, he's the food man. He's the chef.
Okay.
So he ordered he actually makes the order from either Cisco or United Foods, and gets all we need, and they usually deliver on a Thursday. They pull up and unload everything and set to go. But the concession is a brand new building that actually come from Blake and Michael's place of employment there, built right, and had it all specially made for the windows and the bathrooms on the end. It's heated and cooled, and it's a nice setup. It really is.
You said Built Right.
Mm-hmm.
Who works for Built Right? Mike?
Yeah, Michael.
I do. My brother-in-law, which is one of the other partners in on the track with us, Blake Wallace. My dad started it in '99. We do storage buildings, carports, stuff like that.
Okay.
I sold out to him in 2018. So him, being able to invest in that building and bring it out there as a concession stand has just been phenomenal. I mean, when we first started last year, the feedback that I got from a bunch of people, I think since it was so new, we did kind of like a soft opening, and there were several people that came, and they some of them brought their wives, but I talked to several guys and they said, man, my wife loves it out here now. Y'all got such a nice restroom and such a nice facility. I said, well, spread the word, and that's one thing that we were blessed with was Blake being able to help us out with that concession stand and the new facilities and the bathrooms and everything.
So shout out to Blake.
Well, I got to ask a question before Billy does. Because if Billy asks it first, I'm going to be like, dang on it, I didn't get to it. Who has been down the track the fastest? We got to know.
Oh, you bastard. I was gonna...
We got to know.
It actually happened this weekend.
Did it? Okay.
Yep. I'll let Michael talk about that. That's more his.
So Jason Timms, actually, he used to be on Street Outlaws forever ago. He's a good buddy of ours. He's got a triple cylinder. He's got a snowmobile motor around 1,200 cc's, and he's been trying to work some bugs out of it. And he sent it down the track, and I think he ran a he straight off the trailer. He ran a 3.57, which the track record beforehand was a 3.56 that was set by Kent's son that was jockeying Jason's bike, which Kent actually owns that bike now. But Jason took it off the trailer, ran a 3.57, and then he ran a 3.55 after that, which was pretty impressive. We did have a guy come with a full fender this weekend that ran a 3.56, I believe it was, or no, it was a 3.6. He ran a 3.6. So we had some fast times this past weekend, but that Jason Timms, and he's probably around 210 pounds on that triple. He ran a 3.55. I could just imagine if you put a 120-pound jockey on that sucker, how fast it would go down there. But
well, shout out to the Snowmo guys. That's awesome.
That's the record this past weekend.
Well,
That's
Billy is a Volkswagen guy, in case you guys haven't known. So has there been any Volkswagen?
I'm a newly founded snowmobile guy as well. Don't forget.
Oh, is that right? You've changed now.
Well,
okay.
No, we bought a snowmobile bike, and I got a snowmobile engine sitting in this crate right next to me too. So,
nice.
I'm converted.
What's the I'm a side by side guy. What's the fast side by side you had?
I can't answer that, to be honest with you. We haven't had just too many side by sides come.
It's gonna be Dave. Dave, go down there. Set it.
We
I'm on my way right now. Let's go.
The first event last year, it was a test and tune. We had several side by sides come through. We do have a guy named Trey Pounds that he's here local. He's good buddies with Parrish Stewart, and he does bring his down to the track, and he's constantly 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, changing out tires and whatnot. But he runs there pretty often, and side by sides are welcome. That's a lot of these tracks, they want strictly, 4-wheelers, but on test and tune, as much prep as Kent does to the track, he's going to drag it usually between after 5 to 7, 5, 6, 7 runs, something like that. He's going to make sure that the track is, prepped for everybody, especially for these faster bikes. He's going to, hey, look, we understand you have a faster bike. We're fixing to prep it. If you want to go ahead, as long as everybody that's in the lanes doesn't care. If you want a fresh pass, that's completely fine, and we try to, we try to cater to everyone, not just fast bikes, but, everyone.
Well, I think it becomes a safety issue.
It does. It does.
So you got guys like me that's got the side by sides, and I'm in the middle. I'm not one of the super fast guys, but I still tear the track up. You get one of the big guys out there, and then you bring out your bad boy four wheelers. They get stuck in one of them ruts. It's over. You know what I mean? So it becomes that safety issue of where how you do that and keep that track right. And from what I've seen, Billy, I believe you would agree, Kent's doing fantastic keeping that track safe.
Oh yeah, it looks great.
And that was one of my biggest concerns when we talk about that, because I feel like I'm responsible for it, and if there's something wrong, I'll stop it in a heartbeat, because I don't want not only my son, but you or anyone else running. And it's just in the back of my mind all the time, and I just can't stand it.
I agree. That's a good point. It's all Kent's fault if anything happens. Remember that.
Absolutely. I hear it all the time.
So what does Homochitto got coming up this season? When's your guys' next race? You guys got any big events coming up? What do you got?
We don't have anything just scheduled right now. We try to give everybody enough time, or to see the post on Facebook. That's one big thing that we have been doing, is trying to advertise on Facebook a whole bunch. That way we get the word out about the track. That way everybody knows when an event is coming up. It's hard with my schedule. I've got a 7-year-old dance competition, just all kinds of sports, and then Kent's busy, Blake's busy, Gary's busy. And again, it takes a village. I was in discussion this past weekend. I cannot remember what track it is. There is a track that does like a Hunter Waldrop memorial. And I thought that's it. And I talked to Mr. Terry, which they're from Brookhaven, of course. I talked to Mr. Terry about, I don't want to take anything from there, but I would love to do something. And he said, he did tell me the other night, he said that if you guys were to do something like that, he said, I would personally take Hunter's bike off the top of my shop on display, put oil in it, and take it down the track. So we have been in talks and discussion doing something like that for them. We're very interested in that. We haven't had anything set in stone just yet. We kind of need to talk about that a little bit more.
That's a pretty big deal if Hunter's bike comes back off the shelf.
Absolutely. That's it. When he told me that, it brought a tear to my eye. It actually absolutely blew my mind when he said that. But yeah, that's the best thing I can do is tell everybody, just stay tuned. Go like the Facebook page, Homochitto Dirt Drags, and just kind of stay tuned. I usually, like I said, post a flyer of some sort within, a month ahead of time, 4 to 6 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to reach out to you about what I've got going on and see if we can't work something out with the series I started, for sure.
We would love to do that. Like I said, we've got some guys that we're in discussion with about doing some private tests and tunes. Like I said, it's not for us. When we was discussing about what kind of races that we have. Hey, we're here with open arms. It's not for us, honestly and truly. It's for all these guys that love running these bikes and side by sides. Whatever you guys want to do, we're more than happy to do it.
Nice.
Well, it sounds like you guys got a bright future for Homochitto Dirt Drags. We're excited for anything you guys do this upcoming season. Very much looking forward to the rest of your guys' events and whatnot. Speaking of events, was this just a test and tune you guys did this past weekend? We're recording this on March 26th, by the way.
Yeah, see, it was just a test and tune. It was the first event of the year. Of course, like I said, with everybody with the winter builds and tearing their bikes down and putting them back together, rebuilding or building new bikes. We just want to do a kind of a, open arms again. Come test your bike out and see what kind of times you turn, and get to tuning on them suckers. Let's see how fast we can make them.
Absolutely.
What's the address there, fellas, and what's another way to reach us?
Oh,
or the town, even the town for now. What town's it in?
That's a tough one. It's in McCall Creek, Mississippi. It's directly off of Highway 84 if you're headed towards the Natchez. I can tell you that the address is 6341 Highway 84 West, McCall Creek, Mississippi. But when you go to enter in those addresses into the GPS machine, it don't always take you there. So
Yeah, you'll go to an alligator flooded thing, and we'll be eaten up and whatnot.
That's the best way we can tell you is you just head down Highway 84 like you're headed towards Natchez, or if you're coming from the Natchez area towards Brookhaven, you'll see a sign. You're going to come across a bridge that says Homochitto River. It tracks right there beside the river. You cannot miss it. And anybody can reach out to me on Facebook. Best way I can tell you is I can send you a pin or take you directly there.
Camping. How are you guys on camping? Guys can bring their campers, camp out, throw a tent up. Is there hotels close? Things of that nature?
The hotels, we're probably 20 minutes from Brookhaven and probably 25, 30 minutes from Natchez as far as the hotel accommodations and stuff, but we do have people that bring campers, as far as wanting to stay the night, just to stay and have a good time. But yeah.
So people are allowed to basically stay over in their campers if they need to, basically.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys do tech inspections for bikes or anything like that yet?
We haven't gotten to that point just yet, but pretty much rule of thumb is be safe. Helmets are required. We have not started checking out bikes yet. We have been discussing that, make sure that all bikes are safe. Of course, all riders are wearing, what they should be wearing, gym shorts, stuff that is in the process. Of course, being out track is, safety's top priority for everyone.
For sure. I think a bunch of tracks are that same way too. I mean, personally speaking myself, at Thunder Valley Sand Drags, there's no tech inspections either. There's just a general rule of thumb of build safe machines for the speed you want to go. So
right. Yep.
Other than that, Dave, you got anything else?
I don't know. Do we give them the what do we call that at the end? Their one thing?
The one thing.
We give them one thing?
Well, yeah. Oh yeah. Shout out, plug your sponsors and stuff like that for your track.
Yeah. Who helps you? Yep.
I mean, my shout out right now, and to be honest with you, I know all y'all know him. He's a great guy. But Mr. Jeff Guillot, when all this started, I mean, I didn't know who he was because, like I said, I'm new to the sport, and I just got on the Facebook Messenger and I texted him, told him who I was and what we were doing. He sent me his phone number. We called, and he talked for me for an hour, telling me everything that I needed to know, and I mean, anytime. And now we've become really close friends. And talked to him last night. Matter of fact, we just. He don't know how grateful we are for what, he helping me and the equipment especially too, but he's just there and he's that kind of guy, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't want to tell you anything because of, the situation of, oh, we don't want you to outdo me or I don't want to outdo you. And I actually had a conversation with him one night and I told him, I said, Mr. Jeff, I hope you don't think we're trying to outdo you because I said, that's impossible. I said, that'll never happen. I said, but, heck, we've become really good friends and he's just that kind of person that will help you any way he can. So that's my shout out.
Yeah, I've talked to Jeff on the phone one time really long and another time shortly, but I've never met the man yet. I can't wait to meet him. He's super cool.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a guy.
What you got, Mike? What you think, buddy? Who's your shout out to, bub?
Honestly and truly, it's probably going to be Mr. Jeff. Other than that, I'm going to say, thank you to Kent for doing all the dirt work in the many hours that Kent puts into the track, to be honest with you. Blake as well. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to have the nice facilities that we do. Gary Richardson, and especially Gary with the cooking, and especially his family in that concession stand. We shut down for an hour the other night. We had a little issue. I dropped the ball on time slip paper, so I had to run to Brookhaven to go hunt time slip paper, and I came back to the track, and Ken had shut down the track for about an hour, and the line that we had at the concession stand was just unreal. But when I walked inside, the flow of everything. It was so smooth. Everybody got served. Kent's wife, she sits at that gate for hours upon hours on end, collecting money, getting waivers signed, so I have to give, my hats off to the whole team. I mean, it's not just me and Kent here. It's Blake, it's Gary, his family, it's Kent and his wife. I mean, everybody. Like I said, when they say it takes a village when it comes to a track. It really does. And I really don't believe that people behind the scenes are given credit enough, because without them we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it at all.
I agree.
Well, man,
Yep,
shout out to your people, man. That's awesome that you give them love like that. That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, shout out to everybody that helps out with Homochitto.
Yeah, don't make them make too many cheeseburgers and stuff, because these riders can't be gaining weight. They'll go slower. You got to wait till after the race to make all the good food.
Pulled pork is the specialty.
All right. Well, I'm sold.
Yeah, go ahead and tell them about Kubota and where the tractor came from and stuff like that.
No, I've got a 100 horsepower Kubota tractor that we've always pulled the stuff with, and we got this this do-all from Mr. Jeff, and my tractor it's just too big for it. So we all went in and found a 150 horsepower John Deere tractor to pull the actual do-all. Well, the tractor, as soon as we got it, we started getting some work done. Work done to it, and it was supposed to have been ready like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Well, the guy hadn't got it ready, so here we are 2 to 3 days before the race. I didn't have a tractor, so another guy down the road there's got a 115 horsepower tractor. I got it; it wouldn't pull it. So we lined up another guy with a 180 horsepower international tractor. I was going to get it, and my friend at Kubota, which they're a track sponsor, Farm Belt Equipment, and Bradley Allred is a good friend of ours. He just called out of the blue and said, "Hey, I got something that'll pull it." And the day before the race, he pulls up with a brand new M7 154 horsepower Kubota Cabinair. I'm talking brand new. It's absolutely spotless. And he pulls up, and I'm like, "You got to be kidding!" So that's how the shout out needs to go to Bradley and Farm Belt Equipment for sure. Hey, we do really want to thank you guys for actually giving us this opportunity. Because it really means a lot and a big deal. It really does.
Absolutely. Because it looks, as I said before we got started, it looks like you guys are making your waves up there, and you're putting on what looks like a really fast track, and you're giving people a nice place to go racing, and it's really cool to see that. So
Absolutely,
we're definitely have to get down there and check it out sometime.
Please do.
We really appreciate you guys coming on and joining us today. Appreciate your time so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We really do appreciate.
Before we get to Jeff Guillot, his interview is brought to you by Lone Star Graphics, custom photo graphics and design, t-shirts, plaques, prints, mouse pads, custom award plaques, license plates, ceramic coffee mugs, canvas pot holders, canvas bag, koozies, wall clocks with printed photos, a jar opener, key tags, canvas throw pillows, Christmas ornaments. They can put your picture on all of those things, a picture of your family members, your loved ones that go racing. They can put them on there, and they make great gifts. Visit LoneStarGraphics.info and place your order today. And now, here's the Go to Sand Drags, Jeff Guillot. 2.67, 128 miles per hour. Jeff Guillot on Wild Thing 2.0. 2.670, 128.48 miles per hour. Wow, wow, wow. All right, we are back with a very, 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 very special guest. It is Jeff Guillot, the pilot, I should say, of Wild Thing, because that thing flies. It doesn't ride. That thing flies. And he is one of the founding board members of the PSDA, and he is the track owner and operator of Northeast Louisiana Sand Drags in Gilbert, Louisiana, where records fall every year. And we're just going to roll right into this thing. Jeff, could you introduce yourself to our listeners and listeners, please?
Yeah, Jeff Guillot. I'm 55 years old. I've lived here in Gilbert, Louisiana. Believe it or not, I was born in Dyersburg, Tennessee, so I got a little bit of hillbilly in me. But I've lived here for, I guess, 52 years, and yeah, I don't plan on going anywhere. Just gonna be right here trying to run the track. We farm corn and soybeans. And we have a dirt excavation company that my dad started in the late 70s. So that's kind of how we got all the equipment that we've got for the racetrack.
Okay, well, that definitely helps to make a really fast racetrack, doesn't it?
No, it does. It'd be hard. It's hard to have as much equipment as I've got just running a racetrack. It's just it's virtually impossible.
Well, you do a great job with what you have, and it's quite the arsenal, I should say. I've seen it in person myself. We are also joined by Dave Applegate. I forgot to say that at the very beginning. But let's just kind of go into your history of the sport. When did you start racing, and when did you decide to open up your own track?
So I've got a couple of cousins that's not too far from me. Both of them are third cousins. I was 10 years old. They're 10 years older than I am, 9 and 10 years older, and they were doing a lot of mud racing. They had a 3-state circuit going for several years, and they got me into mud racing. That's how I started out, mud racing, and then eased into some of the sand drag stuff. And we went to some of the tracks like down South Louisiana at Laplace. We'd sand drag that morning, and then they'd flood the track and mud race that evening. So yeah, we started out. I was 10 years old riding a 110. We've done that for a while, which, a 110, that was as big as they had at the time. Then they had, my cousin Randy and Skipper, they were taking 350s and 490s and 465 dirt bikes and putting through rear ends on them, run them, and they'd sand drag them and mud racing. And man, I just looked up to them guys and just followed them around as a kid, and they put up with me for a long time. And let's see, I guess we were racing. We used to go to Yazoo City, Mississippi, sand drag racing. We'd go to Macomb, Mississippi. They had a roundy round track, and they'd run sand drags in the middle on their off weekends. We'd go, like I said, Laplace, and it was getting to where most of the tracks had shut down. And Jeff Castellaw, you may see him on Facebook some, but he had a track up in Friendship, Tennessee, and we were having to go all the way to Friendship, Tennessee to run. And we just decided one day, me and my dad sitting around the trailer, and just decided we was going to come home and build a track, because it was a lot easier to race in your backyard than it was 6 hours away. So we built a track and started building the track in November of 1995, and started racing. My wife got me straight a while ago, but we started racing Mother's Day weekend, May of 96, and we run once a month. The way we only done dirt excavation back then, and we were working away from home 12 days, and I was coming in for 2. So I was mowing the racetrack, and then I'd go work 12 days and come in for 2 and putting on a race. And we'd done that for a long time, and had a bunch of other tracks over in Mississippi start up. Some friends of mine had started some tracks up, and it started splitting the bike count up. So I shut down, wasn't running very much, just, you know, running once or twice a year. And it was easier for me to go race with them. And that's pretty much how all this has led up to now.
When you went to Jeff Calisol's track, did he have the impenetrable sandbagging system put in?
He had a system of some sort. I can't remember exactly. I don't know if they went by, seemed like, Billy, they went by maybe CCs or something like that. You get a spot for so many CCs, and it was different. You know, it wasn't heads up racing, and we've always been heads up racers.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right. That's pretty cool. That's different. Well, okay. That's different, but yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that later.
It wasn't it was not a true bracket, you know, or ET. It wasn't a dial in. You come up with if you had a 500 and somebody had a 200, you got so many spots on the tree.
Dave, you got any questions?
Well, I want to start out by that right there behind me. I got to say, Jeff, I've not had an opportunity to meet you yet. I can't wait to do that. I don't know what anybody else feels, but in my opinion, dirt sand drag racing, you're the icon, man. You're our John Force. You are our, you know, Kenny Bernstein guy, you know, Don Gartlets. I mean, that's who you are, and we all definitely greatly appreciate where and what you've done with this sport, for sure.
The GOAT. The GOAT.
Absolutely, man. 100%. I do have one question for you, though, real quick. You said something about a 110 you had when you was a kid. If you're like my dad with all the street rods and hot rods he had growing up, do you still wish you had that 110, or do you still have your 110?
I do not have the 110. I rode that thing. I'd get gas out of my dad's combine. Back then, it wasn't diesel; it was gas. I'd get gas out of his truck, out of the lawnmower, out of his combine. I dumped a little glass bowl on the bottom of the gas, you know, the old little glass bowl that they had for the water separator. I dump it out and get gas. I rode that thing every day. It wasn't much left of it when I got rid of it. I don't really know if I ever sold it. I think it may have just got jumped somewhere.
Well, so with your track, I've not been there yet. So for those that haven't, as myself, obviously you got some of the, you know, fastest in the country, and obviously, you know, I think Puerto Rico goes there, of course, and them guys. So what's the shutdown there? I mean, how's the shutdown as far as like the guys that are super fast? What's that like down there?
So back in, I guess, in the mid-90s, when we opened up the track, we didn't have it about 750 feet, but like me and Billy was talking a minute ago before we started recording, you know, 4.0s was fast back in the 90s. And one of the first time that Mike Brock come from Arizona, you know, running extreme, Mike told us, he said, Jeff, I don't have enough room to stop. I can't run. So the next morning when Mike got up, we done cut down 3 big oak trees. It's about 36 inches in diameter, and pulled the stumps up and made another 500 foot of a runway. And so that's when we actually lengthened our track. And then after my accident in 2016, the water was up that year, and the shutdown was a little bit short, but we've added another 225 feet to it since then. So we've got a little over 1,200 foot.
So do you have it, is it pretty soft on the big end? Like some of the tracks that I go to, you go to one and it's kind of hard packed on the big end and you really can't stop as easy. Is it soft on the big end so that you almost darn near don't even have to hit your brakes? It just kind of slows you down? Or
so yeah. So what we've got, my track drops, we run a laser or GPS setup, and I redrag the track every night. But from the starting line to the scoreboards, which is 660 feet, it drops a little over about 7 inches. And then after you leave the scoreboards, it starts, it'll drop about 20 feet in the next probably 800 foot. And but you know, we put all of our water in that first 660 feet to the scoreboards, and then we lighten up on the water a little bit. And it's a little bit different material. It's a little bit siltier. So when you go down on the low end of the track, yeah, you don't really need brakes. But now if you're running a bike over 100 mile an hour, you know, you still need brakes. But you can. Our track, if you would look at it on Google Earth, it kind of runs at a northwest is the way the track runs. So you can actually turn north, and it's kind of a little 45-degree turn once you get down about 1,000 foot. So you still got another 500-600 foot if you turn north. So somebody, you know, that I know Donnie Dito riding Dan's bike one time. I know Jamie Lewis on K&T, their brakes went out before, and both of them has had to make that right hand turn. So it's pretty safe. It's got a lot of shutdown around. It's probably as much as anybody.
So that's good that you mentioned that for those that don't go there. Now they know that you go and you get in trouble, you can veer to the right, correct, and kind of give yourself a little bit more. And that's what's good about the interviews that we do, is letting people know about what to expect when you go to some of these tracks. Wouldn't you agree, Billy?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good. I know Jess mentioned that before when we talked in the past, but yeah, that's actually a really good note for people who have not been there to go and
Yep.
feel a little more safer about it now.
Yeah.
So the track started around 95, and then tell us how it's kind of progressed over the years, and then when the PSDA races started showing up, and then we'll talk about PSDA in a very short moment, but kind of how the track kind of progressed from what it was in 95 to kind of the juggernaut what it is now.
Well, say back in 95, we first started running. We had an 0856 International, and had what they call a triple K. Farm guy knows what that is. It's just a spring tooth with a little basket on the back of it, and we took the baskets off and put a board. But Billy, what we would do is we would run a class all the way through, double eliminations, and we'd run the class all the way through, and everybody was running knobbies and pro wedges. But that's just something that we done. But we run the class all the way through before we ever drug it. And then Mike Brooks.
That definitely ain't the way it is now.
No. There was plenty of deep ruts to run, but Mike Brooks come over here from Dallas, Texas, and started running with us. And he was coming running paddle tires, and man, the little 7 mil that he had was just doing so good with the paddles. And I just that is what gave me the incentive to start doing something different with the track. And that's when we started trying to work the track different for paddle tires. I seen it was more consistent for bracket racing. I think it's more consistent as far as heads up racing. We were lining up in a set of ruts that 3 or 4 bikes, 5, 6 bikes ahead of us made. And it never was the best outcome. Sometimes you get crooked. Just a lot of different things was going on. But no, that's how we progressed into the paddle tire stuff.
So, whenever you guys started like really racing, and then the PSDA came along, and the track was looking a little different. Did you just notice people were just doing a lot of pack down dances, and you're like, I'm tired of doing that. I'm gonna go buy a giant roller to just roll right behind it as we grade. Did you get tired of watching pack down dances?
So I've got a small duo still at the racetrack now. It was my first one, and I had a little small diameter roller, and actually I've got 3 of them. It's just some rollers that we used on the farm back in I guess my dad and them in the 60s, but they're probably only about a 12-inch pipe. And the first time we tried it in 05, 06, it bounced. it didn't bounce much, but it wasn't heavy enough, and the diameter of it was not enough.
Right.
And it I had this idea in my mind for a long time to try to do this, and it would just give them little bitty skips. It kind of wobble, but there was only like a 1-inch wobble. It wasn't bad, but it was just enough that you could feel it going down the track, and I didn't think it was safe. And we just threw that idea away for a long time, and honestly, Billy, I'm no different from I'm gonna say the guys in Michigan, or James Shelton, or Ernesto and Esteban, out in Arizona. Everybody wants their track to do good, and that's something that I just lay awake at nighttime trying to figure out what I can do. And I got to thinking about a bigger diameter roller, and I said, all we can do is try it. So we tried it, and we pulled the water out of it so it wouldn't pack it too much. But hey, you still got Mocha. He's still gonna pack that track a little bit.
That's very true. Every time. It's glad knowing that when people lay awake at night and they're just frightened about what's going on in their lives, that you just lay awake at night freaking out about if your track's perfect. It's awesome. I love it.
I'm gonna say this. This is kind of funny. To me, it is. Some people have them nightmares about waking up and they're at school sitting in their pajamas. I'm the guy waking up at the racetrack and something's broken, and everybody's looking at me wondering what's going on. So that's one of the reasons we bring Frank. Frank worked with Porter Tree for years, and Frank's our Porter Tree MacGyver, and that's the reason I hire Frank every year to come help us, because I figure if somebody's going to come my way from Puerto Rico, or somebody's going to come from California or Oregon, I want to make sure that, rain's one thing, but I don't want to have any kind of timing system trouble. I want a better run.
Yeah, system malfunctions are horrible. SoCal can definitely speak for that. So obviously the track's awesome. It's a juggernaut. Congratulations to all the records that have been broken there, including your track record, which is what is the track record of your track? And it is by you on the infamous wall thing. What is the number though?
It's 254 at 132.8.
Jeez, Peace.
Oh, yeah.
So speaking of that, Jeff, I think I got a side-by-side, and
That's
it's
so fast.
low 4s. I did dip in the 3s a couple weeks ago, finally, with a stock engine. Tickled to death with that.
Yeah, great.
But I'm in this thing, and I'm driving it, and I'm like, well, I'm flying. Yeah, everything's great. And then I think about guys on these four-wheelers that weigh nothing, and I'm like, how in the hell do they hang on to these things? Like, I don't know that I got enough cojones to jump on one of them things, to be honest with you. I'm glad we're talking about, what's the quickest four-wheeler that you've been on, Jeff?
The quickest four-wheeler. So I was showing Billy some pictures a while ago.
Show us the picture.
Show us that many four-wheelers. I have not had many four-wheelers. I had a turbocharged GSXR that I had a blower on. I don't even know if anybody remember the company. It was Sims and Rome in California. And I bought a blower from them, and I had it on a motorcycle frame. And then later on, I built a four-wheeler frame. Let's see if I can even find it. It was here. I showed Billy a while ago.
Those are awesome pictures.
So I don't know if you can see this or not, but that's the first frame so that's the last four-wheeler I've been on, really, except
pick it up a little bit more, Jeff. Go up higher. A little bit more. There you go. There you go, right there.
So that's different. That's different.
That's wild.
Hey,
It's a lay down four-wheeler.
If that ain't got some coon-ass ingenuity, I don't know what to tell you. But no, that bike run a 354 with a turbo, and that was getting it. And then
you ran a 354 sitting like that?
Yes.
That's insane. That's wild.
So I showed Billy this a while ago, and I said I wasn't going to show these pictures, but you're asking about four-wheelers. This is a bike I bought from a guy in Missouri
Oh wow!
You see that now? That's one. That's one. You're the first one to the scene of the crime.
Wow! So the handlebars is all the way up over the top of the front wheels.
Yep.
Is it comfortable?
No.
Yeah.
So
That's
that bike run 3.5s also, and
yeah.
Oh my God.
so that's the last. Well, let's see. My daughter's 4-wheeler, I went 50s on it.
Okay.
My son's 4-wheeler that I just sold to a guy in Missouri, actually, I went 40s on it. But when I crawled off of that odd looking snowmobile engine that I just showed you, the white one, that's when me and Mark Herrick met. I got introduced to Mark, and I called. I found out he had a bike for sale, and that was in 2004. And that's where me and Mark sold me a bike, and he just didn't know it come with lifetime warranty. So
That's a great warranty to have, though.
oh yeah, it's great.
That might be the best warranty ever. So then I forgot to ask you about this earlier. Talk about your family and how you got them involved in the sport as well. Obviously, they're very supportive whenever you put on the race every year. And was they both know your son races last I seen? I don't remember if Allie was racing or not last time I was there.
Yeah, so Kim had a junior dragster. It was actually a junior dragster that was bought off the asphalt. Jim Santoys up in Oklahoma had bought it for his wife, and they shut their track down, and I bought it for Kim, and she run it a little while, and the wife's had some neck surgeries, so she had to get out of the car. And Allie and Kyler both started on an LT80. I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years old. And so yeah, they. So my kids has grown up at this racetrack that we have. I'm not going to. My wife is always tired at the end of the week, but I know she looks forward to the race every year, just seeing people and it's just so many great people to come to the race. It's pretty neat. So, but no, Kyler still runs. Frank will run the tower for him, and he'll step out and run a 4-cylinder. He's had actually, we just sold Eric in Michigan, my son's 4-cylinder, and
Yeah,
I think Kyler was about ready to kill me, but we're building another bike right now, so I'm gonna probably end up letting Kyler ride my 4-cylinder song.
Oh,
And
any details?
Allie.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Allie's sitting there. I mean, Jaden just run a 298 or something like that. Well, anyway, I mean, so Allie she still got a 4-wheeler, it's a 800 snowmobile engine, and then she's had the black laydown bike that I just sold. A boy over in Mississippi that runs at Homochitto. I just sold her motor, and I sold Kim's buggy. So I sold 3 bikes and a motor to build this one new bike that we're building. And but Allie, I mean, she's videoing Jaden. I don't really think she's gonna be riding. So,
well, you never know. Maybe one day. Hopefully she'll get one of them really fast side by sides and race one of those or something.
Right.
So your new build that you guys are working on, any details we can get about that? Possibly?
Z1 stroker
Chinese secret. Is it an ancient Chinese secret we ain't allowed to know, or what?
No, it's a Z1 stroker motor. Nick Bennett and them's building the frame. Actually, he sent me some pictures last night, and K&T is they're working on the motor for me. So was really wanting to get it out in May, but I think we're running a little bit behind, and so I figure it's going to be more of a July or August build.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's cool. Who's piloting it? Who's going to ride that? Is that you?
that's going to be me.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
Nice.
That's
Nice.
awesome. Dave, you got anything?
Yeah, I do. I've got kind of two questions, and you can answer either one of them. It's kind of off the grid here. So either one of them you choose. One, if you was going to change something in sand dirt drag racing, what would it be? Or two, where do you see this sport going from like today on? What would you like to see it? Where would you like to see it go?
So I'm going to try to answer both of them. If I could change something, probably would go back all the way from day one, probably back to say 05, start building rules, and probably have weight class on everything.
Yeah, weight class.
That would probably be what I would change right now, to go all the way back from day one. And when you're this far into it, changing every class that you have into weight class is just going to be a drastic, I don't think that's going to be really good for the sport overnight. It's something that if you're going to do it, you got to pick a few classes and do it that way. I don't, there's too many bikes out there right now. This is not a big money sport. We talk about NHRA all the time. We try to model ourselves kind of behind them, but we don't have the sponsorship that NHRA has. And I think you go put a weight class up on every class we've got. I think that would be, I think it'd just be a downfall of the sport, because it'd be too many people that could not make that change. And
I agree, as well as the tracks having the correct scale on concrete, particularly, obviously it should be on the return lane. And it's hard right now for the tracks to be able to put that kind of money in something, to have that scale there in the right spot and be certified and whatnot. It's a lot of people want it, but man, it would be tough to do.
Well, that's like us. I go to a lot of racetracks, and I don't know anywhere. And look, this is not a pat on my back or nothing. This is not what I'm saying. This goes back to I'm scared something's not going to work right. So we usually have 12 people, including me, on staff at the race. Well, now if you've got a weight class on every class that you've got, now you've got to have somebody sitting there on the scales all the time. So that puts that other person right now. That's like, we went to the PSDA race at Dome Valley. I get to try to race and check fuel and check weights. If Brad Christopherson, he was there, so he's checked weights on the last couple of races for us, and that's awesome, because him and he's been helping Brett, because Brett was one who actually first started that class. So Brad's been pretty good. When he's around, he helps us, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, having all board members chip in definitely helps.
Yep. Look, I'm gonna tell you, it's they hollering Nick Bennett or Joseph Evans or Jeff Guillot or Mark Herrick or Joseph Evans, or they're just steady hollering for somebody to check fuel, and that's a pretty good job when you're trying to run a bike and a racetrack and check fuel.
No kidding.
I've been asked that today by two different people with my series that I just started. They're wanting to know if we're checking fuel, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So yeah,
every round, baby.
Yeah, it's coming around. So and the second question, if we got a minute, Billy, if it's all right, where would you like to see the sport grow from here? Or go from here? I'm sorry.
Yeah, for me at my track, just discussing my track, I really would like to try to figure out a way to have 3 days of qualifying, and this is not fixing to happen. You're asking what would I like to see
in the future? Correct. Yeah.
I'd love to see 3 days of qualifying, and I'd like to see a set of bleachers that hold 1,000, 1,500 people, maybe 2,000 people. I'd like it to go from the tower to the, the finish line, about 20 rows up. And I'd like to be able to put some commercials on our local TV channels and pull in some people. And that's one of the reasons I've been pushing so hard to not have a downtime at the racetrack, because, sand drags has always been the world's worst about having downtime.
Yes.
And we try our best. We try to push them through pretty hard. And I know some guys get mad if sometimes they're not there and they get disqualified. But it's we're there to race and put on a show. And yourself, if you go to a sand drag event, if you're not racing, sometimes it's not a spectator sport unless there's something going on all the time. And so that I would love to see that. I don't know if we ever will. I mean, a set of bleachers, I priced them. You're talking about $250,000, $300,000 for a set of bleachers,
and not counting getting the county to come in and certify them and all that stuff.
Yeah. So and we're not, we don't make that kind of money. I've went in the hole a couple of years. 3-4 years ago, we went in the hole a little bit, and the last 2 years we've made money. Year before last, I took the money that I made and built a building, bought a building to put there by the tower to put all of my race stuff in, like tree and sensors and just stuff that we need at the racetrack, our signs and stuff like that. And this year, with the money we've made, we're going to try to get some more guardrail. I found some out the other side of Fort Worth, Texas, and I've got a guy going to come in and put up probably 6 more light poles and some LED lights down our return road, and that way we won't have to keep renting light towers. So I'd like to see it grow all over. Every track's going to be different. I think every area you go in is going to be different. There's not a lot to do, Dave, here in Franklin Parish. So when we have a race, usually Friday night and Saturday night, we have a pretty good turnout of youngsters.
I can speak for that. I can speak for that. My first time there, I was blown away by how many people were there at Friday night and Saturday. Like, there was, for as small as the town Gilbert is, and no offense, Jeff, it's pretty small. And
it is.
For how many people were there just supporting that racetrack, it was awesome to see. So I'm glad that you guys were able to make something for the track and able to put that money towards something for the track as well. That's really awesome to see.
Do you got any shout outs, Jeff, that you want to thank anybody?
Before we get there, let's talk about PSDA.
Oh yeah.
When it started. Just tell us about the PSDA and kind of its inception and whatnot.
So, if I'm not mistaken, and the wife's sitting here beside me, so is that around 2009 or 10?
Your wife's sitting right next to you?
Yes.
We can say hello to her.
Hello.
Hey, good to see you.
Sorry.
That is my better half, man. That's my better half. So I guess it's around 2009 or 10, probably 2010, I guess. I don't know. We just really wanted to try to get some rules and regulations, and we didn't want a dictatorship. Me and Ryan Jones and Mark Herrick first started the PSDA, and I think both of them probably thought I was crazy, but I told them the only way that I would agree to do it is I wanted 9 board members, and the first thing both of them said to me, and they're gonna laugh at me when they hear this, but they said, "How are you gonna get 9 people to agree on anything?" I said, "Well, majority rules. That's why we're going to do it. We set it up." I've heard comments over the years. There's things that I wanted that the other board members didn't want, and I got outvoted on. There's things I wanted that we got that some of the other board members didn't want. But most of the time, it's a it's pretty much you know, if 9 board members, usually at least got 7 people vote for something before it gets passed. And we try to do try not to pass anything a year in advance, because we don't want to, if you just built something, we don't want to throw it up for the next race. We want you to be able to finish out the year, try to make it fair. But you know, we set it up, Dave, Billy, we set it up to where if I'm not fulfilling my obligations as a board member, we've got it set up to where they can vote me out. Even though I'm supposedly one of the original 3 that started it, they can vote me out. If the other 8 board members don't think I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, they can vote me out. And that's something that I think was very important. I don't think a dictatorship to run the PSDA, it was, you know, would have been the best way to go. And I don't know as far as my track, and I didn't say this a while ago, we was talking about our track, but I pray to good Lord don't nothing happen to me for a long time, but I've left strict instructions that if something was to happen to me, that if my kids don't take my racetrack and run it, you know, to have this event every year, that I'm turning my racetrack once a year over to the board members. I want this race to keep going, and I'm gonna give it to the board members to let them keep having this event.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Kyler, Allie, I think you know what you have to do. As Dave was saying before I cut him off, do you have any shout outs you want to give? Like any shout outs you want to give?
Well, so I guess if it wasn't for my family, you know, agreeing to let me do this, you know, I got to give a shout out to my wife Kim and Allie and Kyler for sure. Second one would have to be Mark and Pee Wee. They've been with me since 2005. They've been with me building this bike, the Wild Thing bike, and I definitely could not run the bike without them. Actually, the race that we just went to at Dome Valley, Arizona, is the first race since 2005 that I've been to that Mark hadn't been with me. It was a little bit different. Mark's been a big part of our race team for a long time. He helps me with the nitro bike. I couldn't run it without him and Pee Wee. Tim Jones, that does he does our cooking most of the time at the racetrack. When he's around, him and my son both help. They're not always there, but when they're around, they help. And Nick Bennett and Dan, you know, got to give a big shout out to them. They're a big part of the PSDA stuff, and they probably dread coming down a couple of days ahead of time because they get to pound a couple of hundred wooden stakes for reserve parking. And I'll tell you this, there's not a lot of people that knows this, but when Travis Prater started building my frame and Dave Earl done the rear end and stuff, and you know, Larry, of course, done the motor pod, but Mike Goodale was somebody that I met, and I don't even know for sure if Mr. Mike Goodale would remember. First time I met Mr. Mike Goodale, had always heard about Mike running. You know, I think the first time I remember Mike running was a 327 up at West Michigan or Silver Lake at the time. So I met him down in Naples, Florida. We were down there racing, and I've known Mr. Mike a long time, looked up to him. But when we started building the bike, he would call and check on me. Well, you know, the first thing he'd say, well, how's Wild Thing coming? And so I kind of felt like that was the best thing to do. So that's how the bike come up with his name, Mike Goodale. Calling and checking on it.
That's awesome. Shout out to Mike Goodale. Shout out JWI. That's awesome.
I say shout out to all the guys, racers, girls, racers, you know, that go to your track and support your track. If it wasn't for your racers, you guys wouldn't be doing what you're doing. So those guys got a lot of respect for you, Jeff, and they definitely always looking forward to your race.
Well, that's like these guys at Homochitto that just just built this track and took it over. You know, they started talking to me about a do-all and a roller. And when I told them that if I could find me another do-all and roller, that I'd sell them mine. And they're doing an awesome job. You know, that's like Rick Carroll hadn't run in a year or so. I feel like Rick Carroll opened up Pops again at some point in time, and Homochitto's there racing. And you know, with me doing dirt work and farming, I don't have the time to run once a month. We need those tracks, and them guys have stepped up and helped take over the local crowd. You know, to give them a place to race, because I can't do it. I'd love to, but I can't. And they have the ability and the time. So when I found another do-all, and I think I told Billy when I found this other do-all, I called Kent and them and told them I'd sell it to them. And I could have made more money off the do-all and roller because I had some more tracks wanting it. But you know, I'm trying to support my local racetrack too. I'm just like you guys, support your local racetrack. I think that's very important.
Well, you're definitely trying to grow the sport for your area, which definitely needs it. And you and Homochitto working together is definitely going to get it done. So that's awesome to see that. I kind of want to end the interview with this. Everything we talked about is great. You have been great. I definitely appreciate you joining us. Something that some of our listeners and viewers may not actually know about you. They know about Wild Thing and they know about the accident. Could you open up about the accident and kind of what you saw as it happened and kind of just describe everything, if you would, please?
Well, so, you know, the bike was fresh. We just picked up the bike. Actually, my son went and picked it up, and I don't know, it was like they had trouble with the truck. It was just seemed like something was going on the whole time, trying to get that bike back to the track, because they picked it up just a couple of days. I think they showed back up with it on like Monday, and the race started on Tuesday. So everything was kind of felt like kind of going against us from the start. And then the cars, we had some of the cars from Michigan, some of the top alcohol, Pat Goodell and them was here. And they had run earlier in the day, and I had run one pass, and I can't really remember the exact number. Maybe I run a 263 or 4 or something like that. I can't remember the exact number. But my spectators like me to run. They like to see the bike run at night because they can see the flames. That's just something that they all ask me to do, is run at night. So we decided to make one more pass. And, you know, Billy, I can't really tell you what happened. I'm going to say I probably messed up because the bike has a push throttle. And I'm so used to crossing the finish line, relaxing my hand and getting on the brakes and the bike stopping. Well, it didn't stop. And I had run a 260 at 130 is when I crossed the line that night at 10:03. I still got the time still up here somewhere. When I let off the throttle, the bike just kept on chugging. It was not under full throttle, but you know, half throttle, quarter throttle on that bike, even trying to stage it, it's kind of odd. It's the nitro is there's just so much horsepower, just barely cracking the throttle. But I was probably 300 foot down the racetrack before, you know, I've done got on the brakes not stopping me. And, you know, but I know for a fact, I never pushed that throttle back. I pulled it to make the pass, but I never pushed that throttle back. And, you know, when they got the bike out of the water, the springs on the blower hat was still on the butterfly was still there. So it was working fine. So I don't know if we got a dirt clod somewhere in the throttle or something, but you know, after I done went about 300 foot, and that just was literally a split second. You know, I turned the fuel off and I turned the mags off, and you know, that thing, when you turn the mags off, it's going to run like a diesel. It just keeps on going until it runs out of fuel. So I want to do a couple things. Want to probably put a guillotine on it, like some of the tractor puller, the alcohol guys, the truck pullers has got. But so I don't know. It was really dark that night. We didn't have a lot of light down on the end. The water was up, and I know I rode the bike till I got it shut off, and that would have been down around the 700-foot mark when I finally got it stopped. And you know, can I tell you how fast I was going? For sure, no. But I know I accidentally, Dave, I was hitting every button I could. I turned the fuel off, I turned the mag off, and there is not but one more button, and that's second gear, and we don't run second gear. So I gained a little bit more speed. So, you know, we're just kind of guessing 180 plus mile an hour. And I went over the hill, and then where Bo had been turning around with the do-all, it was actually probably about a 2-foot hump right at the water's edge. And the last thing I remember is getting, you know, just as the bike cut off, I remember trying to bail because I knew the water was right there. And I guess when I went off, tried to go off the left, my leg hung up, and that's where it snapped my leg. You know, it broke my finger on my right leg. And I guess when I did lean over, it shattered my wrist and broke some fingers and stuff like that. But actually, the last thing I remember is trying to get off the bike. I don't remember breaking my leg. I don't remember hitting the trees. You know, I broke. I didn't realize this, I guess, till I got home from the hospital. But I had 13 broke ribs, and two fractured vertebrae. You know, my broke finger, a femur, had some broke fingers, and I think that's all I broke. But
yeah, that nitro's nasty. My dad and I, we was into the nitro a little bit. I was on a team with a dragster on, with NHRA, and it's tough. You can't control it. Once it goes away, there's nothing you can do.
So I'm gonna tell. I think I've told Billy this story. I'm not real good. A lot of people think I'm real good because we get up and do interviews and stuff like the drivers' meetings and things like that. But I'm not real good in front of a bunch of people. But so I'm gonna tell you a quick story. I don't want none of you guys to think I'm crazy, so I'm gonna tell you what I remember. I remember waking up in the water, and somebody grabbing me around my waist and the first thing I told them is I said, "Need to get me out of here." How I knew my leg was broke, I wasn't hurting, and I'm right-handed. I just remember telling them, I said, "We've been sitting a big alligator. I got a broke leg." I said, "Need to try to get me out of the water." And they said, "I'm gonna sit here with you till the guys get here." And and that could vary in time. I ain't for sure if I remember him saying the boys or the guys or whatever. But anyway, next thing I remember, waking up in the hospital and finding out that that they didn't finish the race because that was on Friday night, and had a buddy of mine come by probably about a week later. Hadn't really thought a lot about it. Had some company in and out, and me and a buddy of mine, Tim Jones, got to talking, and so I'm asking stories because him and I don't want us to go to mentioning too many names. Rick Carroll, Kevin Ward, James Varnado, Tyler Chapman. It was several guys that come out to try to get me out of the water. So me and Tim sitting in the hospital talking, and he told me, he said, "Man," he said, "it was so many people, it was hollering, screaming, tractor was running. He said it was a lot of background noise." And he said they were trying to find me, and it was pitch black because I was out in the woods. my bike, all they could see was my tires barely floating in the water. That's the only thing had my bike up. And they'd been looking for me for about 15 minutes later when all this come about. Tim said he was praying, Lord, just please let us find him. And he said it's kind of odd. He says like somebody set an umbrella over the top of him. He said he could still hear the hollering, the screaming, the tractors. And he said everything just got quiet. And he said he heard a voice over about 30 yards out in the woods say, I'm over here. And I said, well, I was steady answering you. He said, it wasn't your voice I heard. He said, I've known you my whole life. He said, it wasn't your voice I heard. So then I get to asking questions. I'm like, okay, well, I remember waking up and somebody telling me that, they was going to stay there with me till y'all got there. I said, so who was out there with me? He said, wasn't nobody out there with you. He said, when we got there, you was out there by yourself. I said, well, I've been talking to somebody for 15 minutes is all I can tell you. So I feel like the good Lord spared me for some reason or another. I'm still trying to figure out what he spared me for, but that's a story that I've told a few people. I've never told it. The cycle drag guy, me and him talked about it. I've never told that story on an open interview. And so the good Lord's real is all I can tell you. He saved me. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here to this day. No, I'll always believe. And I had a hard time that for a long time, and I never wanted to lie to anybody. And my father-in-law is a preacher and a good friend of mine's associate pastor, and I talked to them about it, because you start having doubts in your mind. And so I've just always told that story, hoping that I told it the way it was supposed to be told, and not add to it or take away from it. But yeah, I've never told that story.
That was an amazing story. Like that's awesome. I mean, I believe as well. So I mean, if anything, I full on believe everything you just said. So that's really awesome, Jeff. I mean,
it's basically priceless.
Oh yes. Yeah. So I'm somebody tells me, somebody come by and say, man, you sure are lucky to be here. And I just kind of giggle at them and say, no, I'm just blessed. Very blessed.
You are very blessed. I mean, I think we all are. And you definitely, after hearing that, the Lord's definitely looking over you that night. And gladly so, because now you can keep doing what you love with the people that you love. And it's awesome to see you keep going after that as well.
Hey, Dave.
Yes, sir.
If you look on the front of my bike, you'll see that little Christian symbol now, that fish symbol. It rides with me every time I go down the track.
Yep, I have noticed that. I've seen it. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
That's amazing. Well, hey, Mr. Jeff Guillot, the GOAT of sand drags, the GOAT of 300-foot drag racing. We really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. This is really, really great time with you.
Man, I've enjoyed it. I appreciate it, and I'm glad y'all invited me on. And man, anytime, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here to help any way I can.
We greatly appreciate what you do for the sport. That's for sure.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
I hope you guys enjoyed those interviews. It was a really awesome, really fun time to do. Right now we got our giveaway winners. I said I would announce 2 winners. All you had to do was comment the name of your vehicle into our YouTube comments of our last episode 11. This is episode 12. So our winners of the best name for your car giveaway looks like at Tammy Weaver 5191, and we all know who that is. If you're from Michigan, you definitely know who it is. She's talking about Dave Weaver. He had the name Bad Habits is the car name, and she said Bad Habits, sheep farmer, so sheep help pay the racing. So there you go. So shout out to Tammy and Dave for winning a couple t-shirts right there. And then our next winner is actually Guy Wagner. Guy Wagner from In Cahoots Racing, also in Michigan. They got the Black Sheep. They got the Black Sheep supercharged powered Bronco, which is awesome. And he has his daughter's dragster as well, called the Sand Witch. Not like an actual food sandwich. It's sand and then like witch, like the Wicked Witch of the sand. So, well, that's awesome. So shout out to Guy Wagner and his daughter for winning t-shirts, and shout out to Tammy and Dave Weir for winning some t-shirts as well. Well, that'll do it for the end of this episode of Paddle Talk. Make sure you check out our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok for more content on this sport that we love of 300-foot sand and dirt drag racing. And other than that, we will see you guys next week for episode 13. Support our sponsors, Lone Star Graphics, SM Engineering, America's Oasis, Murray Power Sports, Mr. RPM Cycle. I appreciate all you guys. We will see y'all next week.